Hello there and welcome to All 24 News World News Program. I'm your host, Krimfa Zachary, and up next are the top stories. President of the Republic Abdelmajid Tebboune reaffirms Algeria's support for Palestinian state, stresses that the ball is in the Élysées court and that the climate with France has become harmful, rejecting double standards in global politics. Also in our news, President Abdelmajid Tebboune receives Al-Aqsa preacher Sheikh Ekrima Sabri, who praises Algeria's support for Palestine. Later on, 70 Palestinian martyrs in the West Bank is this year's total current camp displaced, and the EU condemns UNRWA ban as Gaza faces critical medical shortage. And the European Union hits back at Trump's trade tariffs while EU leaders meet in Brussels as NATO chief calls for increased defense spending. Stay tuned to the details shortly. Hello again and welcome back to the program. First off in our news, Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune has made it clear that Algeria's priority is the creation of a Palestinian state. In an interview with French newspaper L'Opinion, he stated that Algeria would be ready to normalize relations with Israel the moment a fully recognized Palestinian state is established. Similarly, Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune stated that the ball is now in France's court to prevent an irreparable rift, adding that the current relationship with France is harmful and time is being wasted with President Macron. He revealed that the French Interior Minister attempted to politically target Algeria by trying to expel an Algerian influencer. President Abdelmajid Tebboune also criticized France for targeting Algerian activists online while granting asylum to criminals, calling some French politicians' accusations absurd. He further addressed the issue of writer Barlam Sansal, confirming he is receiving treatment and staying in touch with his family. And on the same occasion, President Abdelmajid Tebboune emphasized the need to seriously address the remnants of history and memory, stating that Algeria will not accept solutions that could be just swept under the rug. He stressed that France has a humanitarian, moral, political, and military obligation to clean up nuclear waste in Algeria. President Abdelmajid Tebboune highlighted that Algeria's relations with the United States have remained strong across both the Democratic and Republican administrations. He also emphasized that Algeria will never forget the U.S. support in presenting the Algerian cause to the United Nations during the Liberation War. Still with the same development, President Abdelmajid Tebboune warned that military coups are likely in some Sahel countries due to weak institutions. He reaffirmed Algeria's rejection of mercenary forces near its borders, informing Russia of its stance. He also clarified that Algeria does not support terrorist groups in Mali, emphasizing its commitment to peace and rejecting any intention to control Mali. Abdelmajid Tebboune also revealed that Algeria is developing a comprehensive development plan for northern Mali worth millions of dollars and highlighted the shared Tuareg community between the two nations. President Abdelmajid Tebboune reiterated Algeria's unwavering support for Western Sahara, calling it a colonial issue that must be resolved no matter how long it takes. He also revealed that he warned French President Emmanuel Macron of making a grave mistake on the matter, as reported by Algerian presidency in an interview with French newspaper L'Opinion. Still with President Abdelmajid Tebboune's activities, the president met with Sheikh Dr. Ekrim Sabri, preacher of Al-Aqsa Mosque, on Monday. During the meeting, Sheikh Sabri presented a piece of stone from the Dome of the Rock to thank President Abdelmajid Tebboune for his steadfast support of the Palestinian cause. He praised Algeria's strong position and described the meeting as sincere and brotherly, reflecting Algeria's deep commitment to Palestine.
We conveyed to him the position of the Palestinian people, who love Algeria just as Algeria loves Palestine. He expressed his willingness to meet our demands concerning the city of Al-Quds and the blessed Al-Aqsa Mosque.
And on the same occasion, Sheikh Dr. Ekrim Sabri, preacher of Al-Aqsa Mosque, highlighted the deep historical ties between Algeria and Palestine. He thanked Algeria for its unwavering support of the Palestinian cause, especially through his efforts in the UN Security Council to amplify Palestine's voice on the global stage.
We also thank Algeria for its position in the Security Council, as it is a member of this global platform, through which the world hears about Palestine due to the Algeria's stance. May Allah bless Algeria and its president, belong his life, and grant this country security, safety, tranquility, and peace.
Moving on to other developments in Palestine, the Palestinian Ministry of Health has reported the martyrdom of 70 Palestinians, including 10 children and a woman, since the beginning of this year due to Zionist occupation forces in the occupied West Bank. The majority of casualties have been in Jenin, which saw 38 martyrs, followed by Tubas, Nablus, and Tulkarm. As for the ongoing aggression in Jenin, it has displaced thousands and killed 25 more Palestinians. Additionally, Al-Quds brigades clashed with occupation forces west of Jenin, successfully targeting a military vehicle with an explosive device.
This is not a way that suits martyrs nor anyone. The Israeli forces did not allow his friends to participate in the funeral, nor his family to see him. It's been 13 days, and today is the 14th, and they have delayed their burial and prevented us from visiting them in the hospital to see them. They delayed the burial yesterday until the evening, and then told us that the coordination for it was void, and that it will be done tomorrow at 7 a.m.
Still with the same file, Tulkarm Governor Abdullah Kamil confirmed that 75% of the camp's residents have been forcibly displaced by the occupation, with nearly 900,000 Palestinians relocated to northern areas of the West Bank. The occupation forces have been altering the camp's demographics by attacking residents, vandalizing homes, and setting them on fire. Governor Kamil also revealed that Tabet and Al-Isra hospital have been under siege for 8 days now. Additionally, the Palestinian Red Crescent reported that its headquarters near Tabet Hospital was stormed and its staff were detained, with field crews barred from entering. The European Union has condemned the entity's ban on the United Nations Relief and Works Agency for Palestine Refugees, UNRWA, calling it a worrying move with serious implications for operations in the West Bank. The EU stressed the importance of UNRWA's role in providing vital services to Palestinian refugees, particularly as the ceasefire agreement requires urgent implementation.
The European Union condemns any attempt to annul the 1967 agreement between Israel and UNRWA or to obstruct the UN agency's ability to fulfill its mandate. Providing essential services to Palestinian refugees has become even more crucial, particularly in light of the urgent need to implement the ceasefire agreement. The European Union is determined to continue its support to enable UNRWA to carry out its mandate.
And for its part, the UN Special Reporter on Palestine, Francesca Albanese, condemned the occupation's actions in the West Bank, labeling them as criminal and warning of a clear intent to commit genocide through targeted attacks on Palestinians. In a statement on X, she urged the international community to intervene and halt the ongoing destruction, which has spread beyond Gaza to encompass all occupied territories. The Palestinian Ministry of Health in Gaza reported that 20 martyrs' bodies and 20 injured individuals were brought to hospitals within just 24 hours following Zionist attacks. The total now stands at 47,518 martyrs and 111,612 wounded. Additionally, the Palestinian Civil Defense recovered the remains of 20 martyrs from the northern Gaza Strip, including victims of ethnic cleansing in Sheikh Zayed city, which endured over 2 months of violence during the genocidal war. "39 patients and 55 companions have left the Gaza Strip for treatment abroad, marking the third medical evacuation since the ceasefire began. They were transferred to Egypt via the Rafah border crossing, which reopened after months of siege. Despite this, Gaza's medical needs remain unmet, with aid covering only 20% of urgent requirements. And speaking of the health situation, on his first day in office, Donald Trump signed several directives signaling a new era for the U.S., but his decision to withdraw from the World Health Organization has led to budget cuts, with the agency now attempting to persuade Washington to reverse its stance. Let's follow this report.
Back in the White House after his inauguration, Donald Trump signed an executive order to kickstart the U.S. withdrawal from the World Health Organization, arguing that Washington foots too much of the bill compared to Beijing. He also slammed the agency's handling of COVID-19 and other global crises. With no clear way out, WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus is urging health officials to push Washington to rethink its move.
Still investing in bringing the U.S. back will be very important. And on that, I think all of you can play a role.
Meanwhile, countries like Bangladesh and France are pressing for answers on how WHO plans to cope without U.S. funding.
And I just remind you all that the United States government is not leaving a building in Geneva. It's not leaving a secretariat in Geneva. It's leaving a community of nations. It's essentially breaking up with you, not with me. And that needs to be considered by the 193 member states represented here today.
Reports suggest deep cuts ahead, with major departments slashed by health. Experts warn that this could spell disaster, crippling the agency's ability to tackle global epidemics.
Money hit will be very substantial. And if the world doesn't step up and address the money gap that is coming, then the World Health Organization will be very, very badly damaged.
The withdrawal, set to take effect in January 2026, is set to be a major sticking point at the WHO Executive Board's budget talks. By May, when the final decision is made, global health leaders will be racing against time to get Washington to change its course.
And in another development, Iran strongly condemned U.S. President Donald Trump's proposal to relocate Palestinians from Gaza to Egypt and Jordan, asserting that only Palestinians have the right to decide their own future. In a press conference on Monday, Iranian Foreign Ministry spokesperson Ismail Bakai urged the international community to support Palestinian self-determination rather than endorsing plans that amount to ethnic cleansing and genocide. Bakai also denounced the ongoing aggression in the West Bank, likening it to the crimes committed by Israel in Gaza.
No third party can decide on the future of Gaza. They have paid an extraordinary expense, extraordinary cost of remaining on their land. And if they couldn't uproot them through genocide, through war crimes against humanity, for sure they would not let that happen through any political process.
Elsewhere in the Middle East, for the second consecutive week, displaced residents from the southern Lebanese towns of Yaroun are holding a sit-in at the village entrance, facing off against occupation forces preventing their return. The protesters are met with gunfire from Zionist snipers positioned in the town, while bombs are used to block their progress. Despite these obstacles, some residents have set up tents at the entrance, determined to stay the night and seize any opportunity to move back to their homes. And on Monday, Algerian President Abdelmadjid Tebboune oversaw the ceremony where 5 new ambassadors presented their credentials. Among them were the Russian ambassador Alexei Solomatin, who pledged to strengthen ties with Algeria, calling it a friendly nation. The ambassador of Equatorial Guinea, Gertrudis Nsong Nsuga, emphasized ongoing collaboration within the South-South dialogue. Cambodia's ambassador Okay Sarin expressed commitment to bilateral and multilateral cooperation, while Rwanda's ambassador Dan Munyuza confirmed efforts to boost relations with Algeria. Finally, Moldova's ambassador Angenio Revanco highlighted the potential for expanding Algerian-Moldovan cooperation. Still with diplomacy, this time Algerian Minister of Foreign Affairs Ahmed Attaf met with Alex Vines, the Director of Africa at the British Royal Institute of International Affairs, Chatham House. The meeting focused on exchanging views and analysis on the challenges facing Africa, particularly in the Sahel-Saharan region. They also discussed potential cooperation between Chatham House and Algeria's Institute of Diplomacy and International Relations, part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Similarly, Alex Vines, the Director of Africa at the Royal Institute of International Affairs, Chatham House, commended Algeria's pivotal role as a key diplomatic player in the region. During a press conference at the Algerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs on Monday, Vines emphasized Algeria's vital contributions in strengthening Africa's presence and voice within the United Nations Security Council.
The Russian experience across.
Moving on now to other global developments, EU leaders met in Brussels on Monday to discuss strengthening Europe's defense, focusing on future military needs. NATO's Secretary General announced that defense spending from member countries will significantly exceed the 2% of GDP target. Let's get the full details with Salman Asib now.
European leaders have huddled in Brussels for what's being called a retreat on defense policy through it's anything but a break. The meeting echoes Donald Trump's demand that NATO allies fork out 5% of their GDP on defense, a target no country, not even the US, currently meets. NATO's new chief Mark Rutte says spending will go up significantly beyond the current 2% benchmark.
My stance is we have to ramp up defense spending, we have to ramp up defense production. The exact level of defense spending we will decide later this year based on the capability targets. We are now assessing the gaps with each of the allies between where we are and where we should be, and based on that, the capability targets will, based on that, be decided upon, and based on that we will decide on the new defense spending pledge, but it will be considerably higher than 2%, I can assure you.
But defense isn't the only thing on the table. Tensions over trade are also simmering, with Trump warning Europe that its turn for tariffs is coming. He's also doubling down on interest in the Arctic, urging NATO allies to step up their presence in the High North.
We have very good discussions with Denmark and, of course, with other allies. And it's absolutely clear that Trump is right when it comes to the High North, that we have to do more there collectively. This is not only about Greenland, it's also Iceland and Norway and Finland and Sweden and Canada and even the US itself. So we will work together within NATO to make sure that where it comes to the High North, collectively we will do what is necessary.
Last year, EU nations spent an average of 1.9% of GDP on defense, a 30% jump since 2021. But with Trump back in the White House, European leaders are under mounting pressure to dig deeper in their pockets. Whether they'll hit his 5% target, though, is another story.
And in related global development, European capitals swiftly responded to US President's tariff threats, with most EU leaders signaling retaliation, while some called for dialogue with the US administration. Here's Sofian Quintorina.
US President Donald Trump's threat to slap heavy tariffs on European goods sparked a wave of anger and condemnation across European capitals. In a defiant stance, Germany warned that if Washington goes down this road, the EU wouldn't hesitate to respond in kind if necessary, arguing that excessive trade protectionism harms American interests just as much as European ones.
Europe is strong. We're the largest economic region in the world, and both the United States and Europe benefit from the exchange of goods and services. If customs policy makes this difficult now, it will be bad for the United States and bad for Europe. Clearly, as a strong economic region, we can organize things ourselves, and we can also respond with similar measures. This is what we must do, and we will do it. We should move forward in a way that lives up to the level of cooperation.
Poland took it a step further, calling the trade war outright foolish and warning that such measures could push EU-US relations into a dead end while rattling global markets.
Very dangerous things that we will, try to look for and find a reason to be in conflict among allies. I think that we have to do everything to avoid this totally unnecessary and stupid tariff wars or trade wars.
Meanwhile, Lithuania opted for a softer approach toward Washington's trade policies. Instead of confrontation, it proposed ramping up U.S. imports, especially liquefied gas, to stay on Trump's good side and avoid a tariff war.
We have to switch to positive economic agenda with United States. We have to buy more LNG from United States, like my country does. We buy about 52% of our total request for LNG from United States, in such a way diversifying energy resources, and we are less dependent on the Russian.
The world is bracing for a fresh round of trade disputes, this time pitting Washington against the European Union. The warning signs of transcontinental economic crisis are already flashing, and the big question remains: will Brussels and Washington find common ground, or are they barreling toward an all-out trade battle?
Well, it's time to catch up on more international news stories making headlines around the globe in the News in Brief.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio stated that Washington would act against China's growing influence in the Panama Canal. Panamanian President José Raúl Mourinho Rubio said Trump views Panama as having violated the 1999 Canal Handover Treaty. He emphasized that 40% of U.S. containers pass through the canal, justifying Washington intervention to protect its interests.
The Kremlin asserted that elections in Ukraine are essential to legitimizing potential peace talks with Kiev. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov stated that no serious discussions have occurred regarding participants in such talks.
Russia's Federal Air Transport Agency suspended flights at several airports following a Ukrainian attack overnight. Flights were halted in Astrakhan, Kazan, Saratov, and Ulyanovsk. Astrakhan Governor Igor Babushin reported on Telegram that Ukrainian drones had targeted fuel and energy facilities.
Algeria, as a non-permanent UN Security Council member, intensified diplomatic efforts to mediate a ceasefire in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It seeks to push both parties towards political solutions for lasting peace in the Great Lakes region.
OPEC Plus maintained its production policy unchanged while closely monitoring oil market developments. In a virtual meeting, energy ministers stressed the need for vigilance and coordination to uphold collective production cuts. The alliance expects oil demand to rebound in April after a seasonal slowdown in the first quarter.
We reached the end of our program. Thank you for tuning in. Until next time, have a good one.